So we're going to cover stuff like what the difference is between corporate and public accounting, audit versus tax, choose the right employer, and a little more about the recruiting process.
These are really good places to pull open-ended questions from. So if you want to write down or get a copy of this afterwards, especially for public accounting, this is stuff that you can ask about in your open-ended questions.
So some of the differences between corporate and public accounting. Well, first of all, does anybody know if they want to go the corporate way or the public way? Does anybody have an idea of what they want to do?
Public.
Public. Okay. How did you decide that?
I kind of want to go into forensic investigations and auditing, so it just kind of came naturally.
Okay. Well, there's various factors that go into it. Personally, myself, I never even thought of going into corporate. I don't know, that's probably not a good thing. Just because I just strictly went public. I'm not sure why, other than that was kind of my hunch to go that way. I have an uncle who's in public accounting, and I saw how successful he was, so I just kind of went that route. That's just my personal preference. Work hours, there's definitely a big difference here, especially during public accounting busy season, which is from January to April. Also in the fall, January to April too, that's the big time for the internships, obviously. Our work hours can get fairly high, February to April. I would say probably at least 60 hours. Corporate, I think you stay pretty much closer to the 40, 45, 50, kind of all year round type deal. But then public too, in the summertime, you're not working as much either. I mean, it all depends on your own client schedule, but you're definitely slower in the summertime. Typical work day, really this varies. I'm doing various things throughout the day. It's kind of one of those things where you always need to be ready to balance from one task to the next. A typical work day though, I don't know, do you?
Okay, yeah. For more of a corporate accounting job, you're going to be looking at more of a similar day-to-day work experience where you do similar things, one day and then you do the same thing the next day. Whereas public accounting, you could be working on two totally different things, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And there's a little more change, I feel like, in the public accounting field as far as different things that you see and different things that you work on just throughout a day or a week.
It definitely offers more variety too, which I like. It's not doing the same thing day in and day out, which I like the variety that public accounting provides. Busy season, this time went over that already.
To follow up on that, I did an internship in corporate, and corporate is more routine, so I saw the same things every month. I kind of did the same process over and over, and that is kind of what I did in my job there. As you move up in corporate, you will see obviously a lot more things will come in, but where I am now, I see something different absolutely every day. And so that's what I like about it. I have to learn something new every day. I get to do something different every day. I don't get stuck in a rut of doing the same thing over.
So I guess the best way that it's been explained to me in the past is for corporate accounting, your routine cycles are going to be a week or a month, where you're going to see kind of the same period kind of repeat itself. Where in public accounting, it's more on an annual basis, because you are going to see the same things over again, but it's just a longer time span between those things. So that's kind of the best way it's been explained to me in the past.
So it doesn't get routine.
Right.
Does anybody have any questions on anything? Okay, keep going. As far as your salary goes in corporate versus public accounting, it's easier in corporate accounting to start out at a higher level than starting out in public accounting. but it's gonna top out earlier, whereas in public accounting, you generally start at about the same starting salary, but over time, you can see your salary potential grow more in public accounting. Same with advancement. In the corporate world, you're gonna start out as, an accounting assistant or, low-level accountant. And the same with public accounting, we start out as a staff or an associate. And then advancement in the corporate world generally is gonna be a little slower because you have to sort of wait to move up for someone, you have to wait for someone to leave the position ahead of you in order to move up and fill their shoes, generally. In public accounting, you can expect to advance every 1 to 2 years when you start out, and then 4 and 5 years when you've been there for a while. So it's generally quicker in public accounting.
And I think to give you an idea of like our the path at BDO, I think you typically start as an intern, and you can intern once or twice. I think we even had some people intern 3 times. And then from there you go to the tax associate, and typically that's 2 to 3 years. And then you go to tax senior, and I think that's another 2 to 3 years. And then you go to tax manager, is that another 2 to 3 years?
3 to 4.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, maybe.
Yeah, and then there's the senior manager and the partner. So it's just a steady advancement, really.
And just so you guys realize, they do have audit at BDO as well,
Well,
so,
yeah, that's-
and the advancement
sorry.
scale is the same. It's
It's
the same,
exactly
it's
the
just
same,
on the
yeah.
audit side of the house.
Yeah.
As far as who you get to work with, in a corporate setting, you're gonna see a lot of the same people because you just work in the office together. You're gonna have the same boss all the time. You're gonna have the same people that you see, which means, it's great if you can make really good friends with the people that you see all the time. It's not as good as if there's that one guy you don't really like in the office. In public accounting, you're going to see more different people because we work with a larger client group, so we're working with 10, 12 people within the office on these clients, and then we're working with our group of clients as well. So you see more varied people in public accounting. Additionally, I guess one thing worth mentioning for corporate accounting is decision making. As you advance, you're going to be making the decisions for the business. So that's one benefit that you don't really see in public accounting because you're just working with the business and dealing with the decisions that they make as opposed to making the decisions yourself.
And then there's the differences between audit and tax. For any of you going into public, do you have an idea of audit or tax? No idea? That's okay if you don't have any idea. I really didn't know. I basically based it off of, I had an audit class, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. So I just chose tax. And then, like I said, my uncle was in tax, so I kind of just went that route. The thing is, if you start early enough with your internships, so your junior year you could do an audit internship, senior year you could do a tax internship, and go from there and see which one you like better. We always leave that option open to people because they may not like audit or tax one way or another. Busy season, kind of already went through that. They're very similar, like in the winter time. I think audit is actually done. They kind of slow down about March, and tax goes all the way through April 15th, and then picks back up again probably August, September, October are our busiest times. Work location, in the audit side, you're not in the office near as much. Tax, we're pretty much always in the office. It's pretty rare for us to travel. And if we do travel to a client, it's just for a day or two. Sometimes it's a week. But audit side, they can be gone out of the office 2 weeks at a time. And really it depends on what client you're on, but you could travel across the country. or just within the state consistently from one client to another for a week too. So there's a lot more variety on the travel side, on the audit side. Workload, as you can see, audit 2 to 4 weeks on the same job. Nothing like tax. Like we said, we kind of shift from one thing to another throughout each day. I'm on a fairly big client on the tax side, so there could be a month where I'm actually just working on this one client, and that's not usually typical for tax. Some clients can take a week, some can even take a couple days. Just depends on the size of the client. Travel, kind of repetitive there. We're good.
Okay, all right.
I have a question. You were
Yes.
talking about the possibility of maybe even getting into internships. When is the best time to do an internship? For audit, for tax? When would you recommend that they make their schedules available?
I would say the winter is the best. One, because you're going to be working the most, so it's going to provide you with the most experience. And you really get to see what a true busy season is like. Summertime, it's a lot less busy, so you don't really get that full experience. And I don't think you got the opportunity to do as many different things, work on as many different types of clients. It definitely gives you a better variety if you do in the wintertime.
You also make a lot more money. In the
Yeah,
winter,
that too.
That's what you want.
Why do you make more money?
Because
Overtime.
overtime on the rate is ridiculous.
Yeah. Time and a half after 40 hours.
And for auditing, it's generally January to the first couple weeks of February is the busy time.
January through mid-March,
Mhm.
I believe.
And then tax, it's definitely,
January to April 15th, right up to the deadline. Wow.
That's sort of what happened.
and if anyone in here is under scholarship, so they have a limitation in terms of doing a winter internship, just so you know, you can apply for a suspension of that scholarship credit if you have an internship that is gonna be over 20 hours a week. And I know for BDO, not all of the CPA firms necessarily have intensive internships. But if you have one over 20 hours a week, you could actually have your scholarship just placed on, the credit requirement for your scholarship placed on hold for that semester. So it's really nice that DU wants to help you find internships that will help set you up in your job. So just know that if you get offered something, and be flexible. Where you're gonna go, if you can be flexible, it'll allow you more opportunities. So know that when you're talking to the employers. And if you can do it in the summer, if you can do it in the winter, you're not like every other student that wants to do it in the summer. And that may also help increase your chances of opportunities.
There's also a lot more positions that everyone's looking for. I think we hired 12 in the winter and we had 2 or 3 in the summer. So your chances there are also a lot better.
And that's just the tax side.
Mhm.
For audit, I think we hired another 8 on the audit side, and also 2 in the summer.
And also, if you're not sure on if you want to do public, and you're not sure if you want to do audit or tax, and you do have the opportunity to do more than one internship, you can do like a tax internship and then switch to audit if you think you might like that, or vice versa. But an important thing to consider, even if you might not like the work, your work ethic that you're putting into the work that you're doing, that'll give you the opportunity to switch easier without having to re-interview or do anything like that.
I guess another thing I want to say is, if you're looking for, perhaps you want to go into auditing, that's what your interest is, just know not all the CPA firms have audit internships. It doesn't mean they don't have audit positions, they just don't know exactly how to include you in audits over the space of just a short time. So if you're open to doing the tax, it is a way for you to, if you can land that internship, it still gives you an entry point into the organization, and what they'll do is they would then allow you to work over on the audit side when you actually get hired in. So just be aware of that too, that if you're able to say you don't mind doing the tax as a conduit to getting into the company, that also can help you get to where you want to go.
Quick question. You were talking about you had to be enrolled in order to get an internship, but you're also talking about doing 70 hours a week while you're an intern, so I'm a little,
You have to be in your progress to receive a degree.
okay.
So when you take an internship, you still are in your progress after your internship to get your degree. I had already graduated, so I was no longer in my process towards obtaining a degree. So that's the difference. You can take off a full semester and work, which a lot of places is probably what would be needed.
The only class I took during my internship was the capstone class. So then I think that was, a couple of times throughout the semester, so that worked out really well, actually.
And that's actually recommended,
Mhm.
that if you have to take a class, that it be no more than one, and preferred none.
Right.
So, but Mitch was actually receiving academic credit for his internship, which you don't have to do, but it does help to get rid of one class that you no longer have to take towards graduation, so.
I don't know, we kind of talked about this a little bit, as far as interaction goes. Audit, you're gonna be out in the field more, you're gonna be interacting with a wider variety of people. Tax, you're in the office more, you're gonna be interacting more with your colleagues in the office. And then also the clients as well, but not quite as much as out on an audit. So, obviously you need to take your own personality into account when you decide or think about deciding whether to go audit or tax. Obviously, if you are not the type of person that likes to go out and meet all sorts of new people all the time, maybe audit might not be for you, but it still might be. So it's just something to keep in mind when you start deciding where you want